Welcome back to part two, everyone, and today I am really happy because I've got my favorite piece of the armor. Now, this is something that I was really worried about when first approaching how to make it, because I didn't want to do, like, for my last set, I just had some elastic going from both shoulder pieces, because in volumes 1 through 3, he has the two, but in volume 4 and 5, he's only got the one pauldron on his left side. So, you can see the top of it. It doesn't round off like the previous one. So a piece of elastic, you'd see there would be a very obvious gap in between the armor and the fabric. So I didn't want to have that kind of illusion breaking aspect of it. So I'll talk about how I actually attach a thing, but if you haven't seen the first video, I'm just going to go over some basic construction and material methods that I used. So again, it's all, I believe, 1/2 inch foam, either 1/2 or 3/4. Like I said, you always want to make sure you're consistent, because sometimes you'll order 3/4 when you thought you were getting 1/2, and then it gets a little wonky. So it's mainly 1/2 inch. And it's been bent and kept its shape with a heat gun applied to it. Both sides, maybe going back and forth for about a minute tops each. You're getting to the point where you can keep it in its form how you want it to cool. When it starts to burn a little bit, like, you do not want that, because it will show up on the paint and it will kind of look a little, not bubbly, but just off. There's a noticeable texture difference, and so that's what the main shape is made out of. These raised detail pieces, again, they're just 1/2 inch, but I've sliced them in half, so they're actually 1/4 inch thick. So this is just one long strip that I've bent to fit my needs, and this is obviously a little thicker. So with this, you want to get, like, say I was trying to cut it in half like this. I didn't. I just did it on a table. But you would want to cut it in half on the top and then on the bottom, because you can shave down the middle of it. You just want the outside portions. If you're kind of new to carving foam, you want the outsides to be as clean as possible. Or you could get 3 or 5 millimeter foam, which is basically half of this, but it's a little harder to find. You can just order EVA foam sheets on Amazon, but finding like 3 millimeter or 5 millimeter, again, it's a little tougher to find. So if you don't have it, you can always just cut the 1/2 inch in half. And these pieces have also been cut in half, these little squares, and then, twisted and glued on. I always use super glue for the main construction of the armor, and then hot glue to fill in any gaps or reinforce the backside. And these are just pieces of dowel rod that I cut, again, maybe 5 millimeters off of it. So now that we've gotten that part out of the way, how do I put it on, and why am I wearing Jaune's little short sleeve, no pocket hoodie when I didn't in the previous episode? Well, it's because I'm going to show you exactly how this goes on. So this is not a weird smiley face, or I guess, smiley? Or wait, frowny? Smiley. Oh, that's interesting. Anyway, these are wells that I've carved so that I'm eventually going to bend this and then put in some reinforced metal, just kind of make it hold its shape a little better. But these 2 points up here, they're actually magnets. So spread those out. So there are 4 total. And you can see they're pretty flush to the foam. There's a little bit where it's poking up, but that doesn't really matter because you're not going to see it anyway. But the reason I have these is because, and how I got it, I just traced, where the magnet would go, and then dremeled out a little patch where it would go, and then I think, I super glued this as well because I got the plastic backing, so it would bond better to the foam, and 2, because I didn't want it to, like, break. These are really strong magnets. So you can you can audibly hear how loud that is when it snaps together. So they actually have a tendency to break, but the plastic coating, even if by some chance it were to break, it would keep it contained within the plastic. So anyway, thankfully, this works with the clothing I have on. It probably won't work with the Jaune hoodie that Rooster Teeth sells, just because that is a lot less form-fitting. But if you get one as tight as this, you can just get the other two magnets, slide them up. You want to hold your arm, relatively parallel to the ground, just so, the magnets don't fall. Just kind of slide them up, and the tension between the shirt and my skin is enough to where they can hold in place until you can just snap it on. And let me just scoot that over a little bit. And, if you don't like where it is, that's a beautiful thing about magnets. They move. They're adjustable. You can kind of hold the bottom of the shirt like that and then just push up the foam or pull it out a little bit. You go slow with it, but, you can adjust it however you need. And you might have seen this on my Instagram. I had a very, very short video on how I made this piece, or at least how I did the magnet portion. So, it's just like it is in the show. It's free floating, and I think that's, all things considered, oh yeah, see, like, put my arm down, it's a little off. And I kind of want to pull that side up. Again, grab the bottom, and then just kind of push it up, and it's fine. Magnets are beautiful things. Use them in cosplay. Please, they're fun. They're magnets. Who doesn't love magnets? Yeah, magnets. Anyway, so now that we've got that out of the way, which I say it like that, but this is, again, my favorite piece of the armor. So again, I've got the same style of markings that I had on the other piece, and again, it's about telling a story. Like, this obviously looks like it's been like a sword slash or something. So he's got a shield here and this, and so you kind of duck that, sword goes there instead of your body. And you want to kind of build a narrative with what you're doing. You don't want to go, you can BS it, because the more organic you make it look, the more convincing it is. And this little scratch goes from one piece to the other, so you get that dimensionality with it. And speaking of which, that black line is back, where it adds that little shading element that looks much more like something you would see in the show. And the blood splatter, again, use the same technique as I did with the armor piece. I'm going to use, not my gun. I'm going to use this archery knocker. So, or clamp thing, archery tool I have. If this were a paintbrush, you wouldn't want to just flick it like that. You want to put it either against your hand or something like a piece of wood, something that's a little harder than your hand, because this will hurt after a while. And you want to hit it against your palm. That way the brush comes to a complete stop, but the paint keeps going. That's where you get those really visceral and dynamic splotches of blood that I think look very good. And again, if you didn't know before, I use Barn Red acrylic paint. It dries kind of like it's in that middle period between being fully dry and being newly splattered on. So I think it's a good halfway point in terms of color and finish. And as far as the white paint, it's not actually paint, it's Plastidip. I didn't have to paint it white because the Plastidip, the sealer I used, it kind of, it's the right color, so I just kind of kept it, Why give yourself more work? And this is a royal gold that I used, and you can see I did the back as well, just to, let me adjust that, just, in case anyone peers behind it. I probably should do, and yeah, so I'm going to take this off, and let me show you how easy it is. That's it. You just kind of pull it off, and, magnets will fall out, kind of like that. Where'd the other one go? There it is. And you just kind of slap them back on for storage. So yeah, that's about it. I used about 3 layers of gold paint in order for it to look consistent. And the detail lines on the middle are just done with a permanent like industrial strength marker. You don't want to get just a Sharpie because those aren't quite fully black, and they run out pretty quick when you're working quickly. Yeah, so I think that'll do it for the Pauldron.